show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings and, of course, to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at HiveMindCRM.io.
Welcome, everybody, to today's call.
Welcome.
We kind of do a lot of Q&A, questions, concerns, wins. Kind of goes a lot of different directions on these Monday, Thursday calls. It's usually stuff that people are struggling with. We usually try and address concerns. We usually have a lot of knowledgeable people in here that provide value in their own way, like Mr. Spaulding. So we appreciate everybody coming out. Usually people start trickling in as the call comes in. If anybody has any questions that they've dealt with this past week or any big wins they've had this week, me personally, I've been having title issues on one of my properties with the lien, but hopefully we'll get it closed Saturday or Monday of this next week. But it's a deal I've been working on for a while. It's been interesting to go. All transactions are uniquely different, and you always come across new issues that you've never dealt with before. It's always fun coming across those new crossroads. When you get an easy deal, it's like, man, that was an easy deal. That's nice. I wish all of them were like that, but most of them don't come across like that. So whenever the curveball deals come across, it's always good to adjust and adapt to about it. I'll probably make a video about that in general, just because I like giving people the right expectations, because a lot of people think real estate is very easy and there's no hangups. But it's actually the opposite. There's usually a lot of hangups and obstacles you have to overcome. So
sounds great podcast episode or even a panel. Get John Alexander in there doing it on his own the way he does. And then I know a couple of really good title attorneys in the state of Florida that would probably happily hop in and put in a lot of input in that. Maybe we get one from Texas and one from California. Jackpot.
Go ahead, Charles.
They had a they did a quiet title, or was it clouded title or something? Whatever it's called, it's had a clouded title, but they still bought it. But we just had to wait on like something to ensure that the buyer felt comfortable by still closing, even though there still was like an issue on the title. But they wanted the property, so we made it happen.
Yeah, it probably just extended when they go through quiet title, they have to it takes a little bit longer time frame to get that property closed. So
yeah,
as long as everybody's on board. I haven't gone through
Go ahead. I was a seller, so I was on board.
You were the that's a good tidbit.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. For sure, man. No, man, there's a lot of curveballs that come across the line that you never deal with a lot, but when it comes across, you have to deal with a lot of stuff, a lot of different stuff. We actually had Uncle Carl from North Carolina. He does a lot of title issues, but he was covering a lot of like different issues because he totally deals 100% in troubled titles in general, dealing with judgments. One of the interesting things that he did that I've never heard a lot of people do is that he bought a judgment and foreclosed on a property through that judgment.
You can do that?
Yep. So it's a lot of cool stuff you can do through creative niche real estate. And it's just interesting hearing different people's perspectives and how they conduct real estate is very interesting.
Sounds similar to going after tax lien properties, at least in Florida, where it's a lien and deed state. You start out buying a lien, or someone will buy the lien when the tax assessor puts it up for sale if the owner doesn't make their payments. And then typically they can get up to, I think it's a maximum of 18%. And it has to sit for at least 2 years once that lien is purchased. At that point in time, whoever the lien holder is, even if there's 5 more years in the process or 7 more years in the process, Any one of those lien holders who's held that lien for at least 2 years can request that the sheriff hold a tax sale against the property at that point in time. So then, whoever ends up with the deed ends up with the property completely free and clear. But that's something that investors will start to do, is they'll see the liens and they'll start hunting down the lien holders to try and get them to sell it to them. And they'll pay them, whatever their, fee was plus the 18%, or even if potentially they had to bid it down lower and maybe they're in at 12%, they'll still offer the full 18% above and beyond whatever it was they paid. And then if they can find the owner, sometimes they'll just try and get a quick claim deed from them for a set fee, whatever amount. But say the property's still worth a lot more, they'll let the property go to the auction. And then you have two possible options at that point in time. Once that property goes to the auction, you can either make sure you've got the winning bid, and whatever above and beyond the amount that was actually owed on that lien, even if you're the lien holder, now you get back the money that was owed on the lien. You get back everything that goes above and beyond, because now once you filed that quit claim deed with the county, notarized quit claim deed, you're the owner of the property. So you get everything that goes above and beyond what was owed to the lien holder, and the percent, and the interest and such like that. So, but at that point, that tax deed wipes out any other liens. So there's definitely, there's always a process that's, gone out to notify any other lien holders. The owner has a 2-year right of redemption, or a 4-year right of redemption in Florida. But if you're the quit claim deed holder, if you're the last deeded owner, you're the only person who has the right of redemption. So it makes a suit for, to clear the title a fairly easy process. But there's also a lot of ways to go about that if you don't own it. But, you can still go in and go after that, even if you just buy a tax deed property. That's one of the common ways that a lot of people are doing, is they'll either just sit on it, either assuming that possibly the person's dead and they know that the person's dead and that's why it went to taxes, or the person's sitting in jail, or just, person can't be found. Odds are they're not going to come back. So, but the law allows that any work you put into the property in Florida, you can get that back. Anything that was paid to purchase it, any money that was put into it, if the owner does come back within that 4 years, or the original owner, they have to pay back everything in order to be able to reclaim the property. So, that's still advantageous that way. But there's a lot of caveats in between as well.
Hey Frank, how does that work? So anybody can buy the tax lien at any stage, even if it's like a year, 2 years late. They can essentially buy it 2 years already behind, and then hold it for 2 years till eventually that redemption period is already up.
Well, when the taxes get far enough behind, the county is going to hold the tax deeds or tax lien sale.
Okay.
So, but that's a matter of public record. So you can contact whoever purchased it. Say they're 6 months in. If it's a really desirable property, you can contact them and offer them whatever their fee was plus their 18%. You can even potentially offer them the full 18% for a year. Say regardless of whatever their bid was. Say you're only 6 months in, you can say, look, I'll still pay your full 18%. Straight up. What you would have gotten over a year or over the 2-year process. If there's enough money in the deal there to make it worth their while,
and they'll just
sit on it.
They would just assign you the interest.
Yes, you're buying that tax lien from them at that point in time. So then, there's still an owner who actually owns the property. Whoever the owner of record was. If the person's alive, or you're able to find them, or you're able to find the descendants or whatever, you can still go and get the quit claim deed from them to purchase the property, even if there's still other liens against it. That's where you'll see sometimes they'll look at it. Can I negotiate those liens down? Whoever the lien, the other lien holders are, whoever the other debts are from, can those be negotiated down, or they'll just go ahead and let the auction happen. And you can either at that point in time, if there's enough money there, one of the options is let it go to auction, and whatever it goes for above and beyond, you get, or you go ahead and do the auction. You make sure that you are the winning bidder, because everything, that was owed for the lien, with the interest that was paid, you get back. Everything that goes above and beyond, now you also get back because you're the owner. So that's, one of the advantages of the state of Florida. So,
there you go. Well, one thing I like about Florida is that Florida is very open with their documents and they're up to date with all their stuff. So if anybody wants to look for a market to invest in, Florida is really, really nice just because a lot of their records are online and it's just a matter of searching it out and finding it out. And they make it really simple. So if anybody's know a market to target, Florida is really good.
Yeah, public info states are definitely a blessing. I see we've got ourselves a good crowd here tonight. So does anybody right now? We've just been kind of talking about liens and deeds and title issues, but has anybody got anything that's come up this week? A win, a problem, a question that they've got? We definitely love to hear about it and love to help. Crickets, I tell you, crickets. Hello.
Hi, this is Nick Bensamango.
Hey, Nick.
I've been on periodically and have been networking with some of the guys in the hive, but this past month, I put up my first direct mail campaign, and I actually just started getting some calls and some leads. So I've been working with some leads. I'm planning on putting in an offer tomorrow, actually. So it's, I've been targeting land parcels in Tennessee, and, it's just been really great because I feel like I've had a lot of guidance, and it just feels like there's a path to action. And, I finally feel like I'm kind of going down that path and hopefully heading in the right direction, but very excited.
Outstanding. That's the cool thing about the hive also is, if you've got a property that you're thinking of banking an offer on, feel free to post on the group or ask any members that you've come to trust for input on it. Especially if you're new, to help you to be able to figure out the best offer and stuff like that, or, to deal with any comments or questions that come up as a result of the offer and anything that they may counter.
Absolutely. I've already kind of done that with a few members. I had a question regarding, I guess, soil testing, because a lot of the lots in the area, there's probably only value if it's buildable, and potentially might need to do some perk testing too. Do you need to get the property cleared of certain rubbish, or if it's a wood lot, is it tougher to do that type of testing? Or how does that work?
In my experience, tests like that come down to the state, also the size of the lot. I mean, if you see a lot of houses already in an area, odds are that's not, so big of an issue or any concern there. Your biggest concern becomes water. Is it waterlogged to any degree? We were just, me and some friends were just looking at a nearly 2.5 acre lot for a commercial build for an assisted living facility. And barely half an acre of the whole thing is actually usable. The rest of it is either underwater or, too wetland, or else, there's a large percentage that also has to go to satisfy the county for their offsets and stuff with commercial property. So that's more so the concern and stuff that you need to look at. If it's in a residential area, if you see, I used to live in Tennessee, so I know, some of the areas pretty well. If it's, kind of rural and you see houses on that particular road and they all seem to be set back a certain distance, odds are when you look into the records, you're going to see that there are certain setbacks required. So take that into account. You might tell someone, look, I've got an acre, but, 10% of it up front, or, 100 foot from the road is not buildable. That's just, a requirement other than having a right-of-way driveway. So that's the stuff you have to look into. Beyond that, clearing it, I would say, rubbish and crap like that. Yeah. Before you photo it, that helps it to look a little better, but also it's going to come down to the value of the lot. Clearing trees and stuff. At that point in time, you're putting out a lot of money. So there would have to be some pretty significant value there to do that, especially in Tennessee. You might be dealing with people who want that wooded lot, and they'll barely take out what they have to so that they can build, but still keep as much of the rustic as possible. If it's a subdivision, that might be a completely different answer, though.
From my experience, when they're doing a perk test, I came across this when I was in Georgia. They only get a perk test wherever you're planning to potentially build. And usually they can look at the lot. If it's any average size and kind of hey, a house would probably go here. Let me test this. So it's just them digging a hole a certain amount deep and seeing if it percolates. And it's one of those things where they're not going to test every portion of the lot. They're just going to say hey, house is probably going to go here based on the frontage. we're going to test these 3 spots. And if all of them are good, this is a good home site potentially. So the larger the lot, the more flexibility you have. But like what Frank said, you only need a portion of the lot to actually be buildable, and that's where you need to build. Everything else could be backyard, front yard, whatever, and that's fine. And it should still pass 100%. You just need where the house is actually going to be and where the leach field are going to eventually spread out to would need to be perked.
Your other concern then also becomes if there's no sewer available, then you also have to make sure that you've got septic, the ability for septic and, leach field and stuff like that. And if there's water nearby, you have to make sure there's the ability to put in what needs to be put in appropriately while not affecting the local water or anything like that. So, but that's going to become very, location specific. So you would need someone in that particular area that knows, what's going on in that area. So.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for the advice. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah. I know surveys, perk tests, they get backed up. So if you're looking at a certain timeline, you always need to push that forward or make a relationship with them in some way to get your stuff done sooner, just because they get backed up all the time. Especially, they're usually understaffed for any given area. They're usually understaffed, especially if it's a booming area. They just get overloaded with surveys and perk tests and all that stuff. So it happens. When I came across this, I went to his office. He perked the property, I think like 15 years prior. So I went to his office. He was still doing the same thing. He pulled the records and like, yeah, they didn't perk for this reason. Here's the results. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So it's one of those things where like people that do it, they do it for a long time and they're just busy all the time, especially in booming areas. Good question. Anybody else have any?
Let us know how that goes, Nick.
Yep. Let us know how it goes. Like I said, there's so many things that can come up, and it's just overcoming objections, which is why I think wholesaling makes it a lot easier, just because you don't have to worry about these things. You just give time to the buyer to do it and be done with it, or the buyer doesn't care. One of those two things. But it's always nice not having to worry about it per se. And this is like, if you're just wholesaling, you might have to worry about it. Just understand what needs to be done and make sure you give enough time and relay that information to the seller that, hey, we need to lock up these land parcels for 90 days just because we might have to wait 30 days just to even get a perk test. So it's one of those negotiating tactics you can use in your field to get longer contracts, make sure everybody's on the same page, and let your buyer have that time to actually do whatever test he wants to get done to the property before he buys it.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to a local realtor, and I think I might have him help me sell the property, because I just kind of came across him. He had done quite a few land deals in the area, and he was able to kind of help me comp it a little bit, the one that I'm going to put an offer on. And he was like, yeah, their soil tests are probably close to 3 months out. So I'm probably looking at a 3 to 4 month due diligence period would be what I need. So, definitely good to know people in the area. And I've just been trying to reach out to people and, get to know, and also just trying to connect with builders a little bit too, to see if they're interested in the area too.
There you go. It's all about the network, man. A lot of people really underestimate it. It's like almost cliche that people need a network in real estate, and it almost seems like it doesn't pay off. But once you find the right people that you need to network with, it makes things so much easier to do anything. So much easier. So one of the Hive clients reached out to me, and she had a deal here in LA. So I kind of gave her some recommendations. She ended up finding a partner with it out here, and it's going out great. So it's having people everywhere that you can connect with, and leveraging people in the marketplace to understand what they're doing and really are doing it, So it's kind of cool to facilitate that need for different people everywhere. So if you get stuck, you're only stuck as long as you don't ask for help. And a lot of people, they don't know who to ask or where to ask, and just got to put it out there in the world, and somebody will usually help you and facilitate it in some way. The real estate community is a really giving community in most cases. There is some sharks in the water sometimes that are overlooked, but in the most part, I think the real estate community is a really good and camaraderie community in general. So just be aware, but don't be naive as well, because there's some sharks in the water that we came across too that we've had to purge. So whenever you're doing transactions with people, make sure you get referrals, references. Make sure you do your paperwork right, because somebody will screw you over for $500 when you're dealing with a $10,000-$20,000 property, it's going to be a blink of an eye, if they're that type of person. So just make sure your paperwork's in order and everybody's on the same page, 100%, because that'll be bad.
Document, and disclose. So
anybody have any other things they're dealing with? I'm sure me and Frank continue on our banter like we do.
Welcome to the Frank and Daniel show.
Yeah, welcome to the Frank and Daniel show. You guys are all privy. But no, these calls are really for you guys, man. Like I said, we always try and give back to the community in some way. So if you guys need help or assistance, need help with marketing, we are launching new programs with the HiveMind in general. If you guys are interested in that. The HiveMind is a CRM, for anybody who doesn't know, that helps you organize and automate your marketing channels. But we're also launching Hive Leads, which we've kind of been pushing a little bit right now. But if you need inbound leads, PPC leads, we're launching that as well. You can go to hiveleads.io and check it out, and we will have a call with you about that. But we've had one of our part-time investor clients got a lot of success with it. Santana did 10 deals in 6 months using it. So there's a lot of potential good benefits from it, and we're trying to hopefully get people into traction quicker and faster. So we're trying to push that and see how that goes for a lot of our clients, which we're excited about. There's been a lot of questions of where the market's going. I think it's definitely softening up, and you need to adapt and be ready for the changing markets. So one thing me and Anthony are doing is we're trying to get out of all the properties we are in that we're potentially trying to flip, just because we're trying to get cash heavy right now, just so we can buy more properties as it turns. But don't be afraid just because the market is turning not to invest or wholesale. There's a huge opportunity to still to wholesale. Once the market turns, just be ready to put your negotiating hat on. That's it. Sub 2, creative finance, a lot of those other strategies that you're going to be able to utilize and capitalize and make a lot of money on during this downturn that's potentially coming. So educating yourself is 100% necessity.
Know the market that you're choosing to be in as well, and watch it steadily. I saw something today that I have not seen in months, and that was a wholesaler putting out an email for a property that they actually lowered the price on. So know your market. And that's, what Daniel said, still 100% true. As the market changes, you might look at numbers and go, oh, I just did a deal in that neighborhood, a month ago for, X amount of dollars. Don't assume that that's still the number for this month. If the market does shift, it may shift in small increments. It may shift in large increments, depending upon the neighborhood and depending upon the city. So just do your research, keep an eye on what stuff is going for, so that when you do put that negotiating hat on, the numbers that you're working. And you can also use those, doing that research and knowing what properties are going for, whether it's houses, multifamily. My focus is commercial. Just, know what the, land, just know what the stuff is going for. That way, if someone starts to, I think it should be blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's 3 similar properties. This is what they went for. And of course, I need to make a little money in this process. Also, I'm always honest about that fact. So just know really well what your numbers are. And then it's a matter of, a lot of what Daniel said. Get that negotiating hat on, and how creative can you be? Because there's ways to give people exactly what they want, the numbers that they want, in many cases, as long as my terms are accepted. I'll give you 100% of your asking price if you spread that money out over a long enough period of time. Let me in for next to no money down. Oh my God, yes. Now a piece of property that I can get into for $1,000 that you want $20,000 for, that I can turn around and make payments to you for a long period of time. And I can turn around and sell it to somebody else for $5,000 down and double whatever you want monthly. I've got nothing in it now. I've used their money for the down payment. I've made a profit. Plus I'm getting paid monthly to sit there and act as a go-between. That's one of the biggest, blessings of this is, cash flow. That's why I'm in real estate. I'm not here to get rich overnight. I'm here to get rich over many years and control, massive amounts of real estate and massive amounts of wealth. I don't have to have a huge net worth. I need and want, more specifically, a large assets under management, with a large cash flow. Because with that, you can take off, travel for 6 months if you want to, or longer. depending on how you got stuff set up, and you've still got the cash flow. It's still there. So that's just my own personal preference. Others, they want to get rich overnight. That can happen, but it's a little more rare.
I just buy things deeper. We had Logan Fulmer on the show, and he just everything he buys is like super deep, like really home run deals on every deal he does, just because he just buys really deep. And the reason why he can buy really deep is because he's going after more problems that he's facing up front. So he's just going to buy really deep on every deal he just goes into. So just buy deeper. Charles, you unmuted yourself a second ago. Do you want to comment or contribute?
Asking if anybody had anything going on in Georgia specifically.
I think John Pham is here in Atlanta. I do some stuff in Atlanta occasionally. I'm working a deal over there right now. What are you doing in Atlanta?
Well, I'm a real estate broker here, and I also I do some wholesale stuff. I don't know if anybody had anything that they wanted to, me to take a look at or review.
Yeah, our Atlanta people, we have Junior Lee. He's out of Chattanooga, but he does a lot of stuff in Atlanta and Florida. Who else is in Atlanta? My buddy Keith's in Atlanta. There's Sharonda. Sharonda lives in Atlanta. You probably connect to some people out there. They'll keep an eye out for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just post it in Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Be sure to post in the group who you are, where you are, what markets you know really well, and what you do, beyond, just being a broker, the wholesaling, and, the very obviously investor friendly. And, as people need it, they may not reach out to you tomorrow, but we do search through the group and use that search feature regularly to know who's where.
Definitely, yeah. And I passed by some vacant land the other day. I got to get I have to get the picture that I took and reach out to the owner and see exactly. It's like one of those signs that just says 23 acres for sale, by owner, call this number. So I'm working on trying to get in touch with that person.
Message me on Facebook once you got that information. That fits something of my interest. I've got a buyer up there, a broker also. She's got a lot of investors who develop and build and such like that in that market. So there's a good likelihood we could end up doing some business if it's the right property.
I just like to verify that it's still for sale because, I come across a lot of stuff that's already on the market with brokers, and I understand that stuff is already kind of like at the top of the market. But some of that FISBO stuff is like you call a number 3 or 4 times and nobody ever calls you back. You leave a voicemail. So then you got to dig deeper and do a little bit more research to see if you can find out where they live or something and, go over their house and try to pitch them. Luckily, I have a business card from a brokerage, so it's a little bit less alarming when I contact somebody, if I have to go see them in person.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Yeah. Cool.
Hey, Charles, excuse me. I didn't know you were in Atlanta. This is Loretta. Anybody who knows me know I'm going to call you. So, I've been seeing some stuff in Atlanta, too, and glad to know that you're there. Right, Frank? I'm going to call them, right? I'm going to stay in touch.
Most definitely.
With everybody that
Good to see you today,
is a part
Mr.
of the Hive. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
No problem. I'll put my number in the chat.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions or wins or things that they'd like to bring to the Hive today?
I don't have a question. My name is Taylor. I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. This is actually my first appearance in the Hive call, and I'm just doing some listening. I began my wholesaling business back in October of 2021. I only did it because, I had the opportunity to sit down, study for about 2 years. I'm still kind of new to it. I closed my first deal in January. It took about 4 months, but I got it closed. It was pretty difficult, but I got it closed. As of right now, I'm going through a lot, working 2 full-time jobs, and I'm also, trying to do some wholesaling on the side as well. So I have a small list, but my problem is actually tracking down the owner, because when I try to use my resources and to track them down, I'm having troubles. I'm hitting dead ends. So that's kind of where I'm stuck in my career.
What type of property is it?
I think she's having all types of properties. I think so.
Right. Mainly single family, though. Single family.
Okay, so single family homes, are they occupied or vacant?
That's where I'm hitting. It appears to be vacant to me. They look very vacant, driving past.
Are you doing driving for dollars, or are you pulling lists?
Yes, I've been recently driving. I extended my financial resources, so I've been driving, just doing what I can.
Okay, so driving for dollars, it's a good list. it's probably one of the best lists out there just because you're physically seeing distressed properties. So I would continue doing that. As far as finding who the owner is, that's you go to the county. What state are you in?
North Carolina, Charlotte.
North Carolina. So every state has a tax assessor website that you can go to see who the owner is. Generally, we like using, like if you use like the Drive for Dollars app, you can usually find the information of who the owner is and their mailing address. So that should kind of help facilitate where they are or where they live if they're owner occupied or absentee. So you might want to use some type of Drive for Dollars app. If not, use something simple like Landglide, or just write the address down, make a list, put in a spreadsheet, and then start doing some homework on the computer. It's time and money. So if you have the time to get the list, then you can manually skip trace it, or you can send it to a skip tracing company to get it skipped and get the numbers for them. But you just need to find out that basic information. Hey, I saw 123 Main Street on that corner lot. When a window was broken and there was tarp on the roof, let me go write the address down. Let me find out, oh, it's John Smith, owns 123 Main Street, but he lives at 567 Johnson Street. Okay, now we have his address, and we know he owns a property he doesn't live in. And then we find a way to skip trace them. You can use free resources like True People Search to find out Mr. John Smith on Johnson Street. Look him up, find out that that's his number, and start calling and see if they get a hold of him or a family member that through those resources to try and get a hold of him about his property on Main Street. So it's mostly getting the right information. That's 100% proper. So if you're doing Driving for Dollars, just make sure you're getting the right mailing address and who the actual owner is, whether it's an individual or LLC. You just need to do research on that side, on the back end side, once you actually get the list to get the property's information 100% correct.
Yeah. That's the part I'm stuck on. It's like, so I get there and I get to skip tracing. I figure out who the owner is, like the name of the owner. I get to skip tracing, but it's like I hit a dead end because the number doesn't work, or I don't know. I'm just hitting a dead end with it. I've tried True People Search. I tried skip. No, what is it? Bat skip tracing. I've tried a lot. Skipting.
If you're doing this on a bulk scale, there's some people you can't find, but if you can't find them, there's a good chance nobody else can find. So usually those are ones you got to dig deeper. Usually, the one thing that if you can't find them, look up their name and obituaries. It's kind of morbid, but it works out in the past. Is that if you usually can't find them, is because they're passed away recently or years prior. So usually you're not going to find any information on them because there is none. So
then you look for the relatives.
Yeah, if you look for the relatives, you're going to go down that path and figure it out and possibly get a really good deal on a good house. So the houses that you can't find anything, dig a little deeper, because if you find the owner, there's a good chance a lot of people can't find them either. So you're just by doing a little bit of extra homework, you might be able to find a good transaction out there.
Yep. Another trick there is when you look at the tax records. I don't know how public North Carolina is with their records, but if you check out the property, you check its tax history. If you see a lot of tax liens against the property, then odds are they have no idea where the person is either, and nobody's paying it. Another trick that works, especially if you're driving for dollars, go to the post office and get yourself they're free, the big cardboard envelopes, that are about the size, it's not showing up.
For priority shipping
the priority shipping envelopes, they're free.
Okay.
Grab a stack of those, just grab yourself 10 or 20 to start, just for the trial. And if you come across a property that looks interesting, grab a sheet of paper, your pen, right? Hey, this is, Taylor, I'm interested in this property at whatever the address is. Give me a call and put your number on it, and then stick it in the envelope, seal it, and then stick it in the crack of the door. Just walk up to the front door of the property and stick it in the crack of the door. Do not stick it in the PO box or the postal box, because then you have to pay postage. And the postal person, if they notice that it looks different, they will open it and look, and they'll yank it out. But if you put it in the crack of the door, a lot of times there are neighbors of a property who still know how to contact the owner or someone in the family of that owner. Even if the person's deceased, they know someone. And a lot of times, if you put something in the crack of the door like that, someone who knows them will go grab it and reach out to them. Hey, you want me to, someone stuck this in the door. They'll open it, they'll read them the letter. And because of the fact, like you said, maybe they can't be found because, maybe they passed, maybe they moved to Timbuktu and they've just, dropped off the grid, whatever the case may be. You like everybody else, nobody can find them. So if you get that way in, sometimes that works. And I found property owners that way and was able to make deals. A couple of times they were dead and found relatives. A couple of times it was people who were in prison and just gone for long periods of time. And the houses were just sitting there. So you never know what will work, along with obviously all the tricks Daniel brought up.
Okay, that's definitely worth a try. Thank you.
The envelope makes it look more official too, and you don't have to pay for postage. It's all free, so you can use that free postage and just drop it off on the door. And you can have pre-printed paper already sealed. All you do is write the address on it, dear owner. If you go with the owner's name, put the owner's name on it, and that's it. Call it a day.
Yep. Just don't stick it in the mailbox.
Yep.
Okay, no mailbox. Okay, got you. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, just
Taylor.
Looks like Jimmy Dean's got something there that he's trying to show.
Taylor,
No,
I was just going to say to you, excuse me, Taylor, I was just going to say to you, I've done that too. I have done everything on this Twyla, and I just found out that she's here in California with me, but the person that was taking care of her property was very vague and didn't want anyone to know, and the family didn't know. But so far, that particular property that I'm trying to get is in Atlanta, Georgia, so that I can gift it and buy it for my daughter. And someone came to that property and asked my daughter if she had any information on Twyla, even though they knew she was here. But because she's in a facility that's a caretaking facility, someone else was taking care of that business. Anyway, to make a long story short, I did everything you did. I skipped trace. I called relatives. I called everyone. And now I just bingo and just hit. So I'm going to go from there now. So I'm just in that prime part right now. But it's because of the hive and what I've learned with them that I begin to understand and just begin to search, like they say, search. And that's what I did. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of encourage you to do that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for those
So
encouragements.
Thanks, Loretta. That's awesome. I'm glad you said that, Loretta, because Loretta, it's not no discount to her, but it took her a little bit to understand what the process was, but she's getting it now and she's doing a lot better. So I congratulate you, Loretta, for getting it.
Thank you, Dan.
Congratulations.
Doing it more.
I'm in Starbucks,
Hey,
you guys. So thank you.
Frank, I'm just going to piggyback on what you said because what I used to do is I just used to go to Dollar General and I would actually go get me some sticky notes. And I'll go ahead, purchase the sticky notes and then slap it on the door. Hey, I'm interested in buying your house. Give me a call. A relative, a sister, a cousin, whoever will show up, just see that number, they'll call me up. And I got me a few deals just like that. If I can't reach them, I knock on the next door neighbor doors as well. Get in contact with all the neighbors because everybody in the area know everybody. So I would knock on their door, ask them, hey, do you know your neighbor right there? You think they'd be interested in selling? And then one person would come out and say, yeah, I know them. They passed away. I know the sister. I got her number. I'm going to give you the number. And I got me a deal like that too. It's really, and then it's really simple, but it's a lot of work. And if you want to find relatives, it's this phone company I used to use, Been Verified. It used to be free on iPhone. For some reason, it's not free no more. I mean, they give you the cousins, the brothers, the aunties, friends, everybody that you want to, that you could call, that you want to name, that you can name. Man, you can actually call them one by one, and the phone numbers are accurate. And the sky's the limit. You reach out to them with no problem.
Another site that you could also use, Jimmy, there's a site called fastpeoplesearch.com, and that is free. It will give you all of their relatives. You can click on the relatives' names. It'll tell you all of the past addresses they've ever lived at, their current address, if they're alive, if they're not alive, every telephone number they've ever had. So that's another economical way to kind of track down family members as well.
I use that
What is it
too.
called? I'm sorry.
Verify was actually accurate because it gave me social media information as well. And it was like real good. I liked it.
I'll try that too. That sounds good. I'll follow them on social media too.
Okay.
And there's a lot of free ways to be able to find people, find owners, or find relatives.
I want free
of the people, and until you get to the position where you've got a little bit of budget. And I know Anthony likes to say it. I know Daniel said it. John Alexander is an extreme fan of saying, start with the cheapest method when you're trying to find properties or trying to, contact the owners and then work your way up to the situations where you're paying.
Yes.
So,
Does anybody use PropStream?
No, I don't.
I use PropStream as well. And I found out most of the numbers that I find on PropStream as well are the same ones you can find for free on fastpeoplesearch.com.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
actually,
This is a
for
great
skip
call.
tracing, when it comes to skip tracing now, I use the HiveMind's the list guy service, just because it works extremely well and it's extremely cheap. I found one service that was cheaper, but they don't do commercial. So the HiveMind's list guy service, which I believe Daniel owns, is just so much better, and they do commercial as well.
That's what I'm using. The list guys, you guys. That's what I'm using. It's working.
Put that link in the chat for the list guys.
Daniel put it.
Daniel's getting it. He should have that on a speed link.
Oh, Frank, what I heard you say about the post office envelopes, not the envelopes, whatever you call those things. But anyway, that's the greatest ideal, the creative ideal I've ever heard of. And I'm going to do that because there's this property that I actually went to, knocked on the door, and I can tell she's an older person. Of course, she didn't answer the door, but I'm going to put that through there. All I want to do is cut her grass. That's all. I had a gardener there to cut her grass. That's all I want to do. And of course, if we begin to talk, then I'm going to find some information out, right? So I just want to go and cut her grass because in that neighborhood, it's such a nice neighborhood. And I'm sure other people have tried to talk to her, but I just want to go cut her grass. So my note is going to say, can I cut your grass? And if you see me cutting your grass, will it be okay? So I'm having my gardener to go over and just cut her grass. That's all I want to do. And if she comes out and we get to talk, then fine. If she doesn't come out, I'm going to put another envelope back up in there. Because I'm sure she'll move the first one and say, would you like to talk about your property? Are you interested in selling it? Whatever the correct word would be. But I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. That's next on my list. That's so creative, Frank. Thank you so much.
It wasn't my idea. It was somebody else's idea that I'm like, hey, I thought the same thing. Wow, I like that. It's free and I can go do that. And it worked. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Hey guys, I've got a creative deal I just want to throw out. Well, not a creative deal. I've got this potential deal that I'm working on. I want to throw out what I'm going through and I'll take all feedback. I have a property in a very up and coming area here in San Antonio, Texas. Very hot area. In the last year is just, they're really revitalizing this area. So I have a family that's due for foreclosure on July the 5th. The home was paid for. The father did a reverse mortgage. He's an elderly man. He did not tell family members, didn't tell the son who actually lives with him until it was too late. So now they're like about $90,000 behind in the mortgage and they're up for foreclosure. The father, he's ready to sell. He's, of course, now because he's ready to get out of there. He doesn't want that on they don't want to be kicked out. So the son, who is basically takes care of his father, he's not on the deed, but he's the one that's trying to kind of help facilitate stopping or slowing the foreclosure and helping with the sale. The father is kind of like, I want 280 for the house. And I was like, do you understand that homes in your area? And I explained this to the son understands homes in your area with no rehab whatsoever. The house was built in 1920. We're talking about no updates, no central air. They're not going for 280. The most they're going for in that area is 133. So I'm being very creative and trying to help them find another place to go to that a deal on the ARVs that I can offer them will actually pay off what they need to pay off for the foreclosure, to stop the foreclosure and give them money to go into a new place. The thing is, again, the son is not on the deed. It's the father that's on the deed. So am I wasting time helping the son? And the reason why I'm dealing with the son, because the son speaks English, the father does not. But we know the father is motivated, very motivated, but his numbers are just off. We have 3 weeks.
So one thing I'll say is that is he in his right mind to make financial decisions?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think so, because he stopped paying the mortgage. Like he stopped paying the mortgage, he stopped paying the insurance, like he stopped opening the mail and those sorts of things. Technically he's not in his right mind, but he's not been deemed by the courts not to be in his right mind.
So if he's not been deemed by the courts to be in his right mind, then technically he still has to be the person to facilitate the transaction, which is why I say that. So if his son can find a way to get rights or what's the power of attorney over his estate, then he can facilitate the transaction. But if he's still in his right mind and he can't get power of attorney, then you have to go to the father.
Now, is it wrong for me to talk to the son about, okay, you and your father need to have like at least a joint bank account because of the fact that we know that once this sale happens, all the funds are going to go into his account. But at least that way the son can kind of oversee what's happening with the funds.
You don't want to have any thought or say in that conversation. Essentially, what you've just done is committed fraud.
Okay.
Just by discussing that.
So
know you don't want to do that, but this is coming from a former realtor. That would be a discussion between the son, the father, and an attorney to protect the father's interests.
Okay.
Nothing on your side. And it sucks because I mean, we're here to solve problems. True real estate investors and stuff like in groups like this, you have to be a problem solver and a solution provider. It may come down to he may have to look into a short sale, starting a short sale process that could potentially stop it. As Daniel said, we can't solve every problem, unfortunately. And sometimes, I mean, I've dealt with foreclosures, dealt with people who were facing tax sale eviction, foreclosure and eviction from a tax sale to the actual tax deed sale, where once that happens, they're going to be thrown to the curb. And they don't see it. Oh, something's going to come through. Something's going to save me. And, right up until that last moment when they've lost it, oh my God, it didn't work out. I could have swore somebody was going to give me 3 times what I thought it was worth. It's unfortunate. Defiant to the very end. Talk to, try and get the son to talk to the father with you there and explain the situation. Show him potentially what some other houses similar condition to his are selling for. Maybe that will help him to understand. Offer to bring a real estate agent in to help him potentially with, because it would be a requirement, a real estate agent and attorney, or just, a proper attorney who handles short sales, and try and get the protection that way to give him a little bit more time. But he's going to have to come into reality and accept, what the actual value is, unfortunately, or it may in that process get proven that he's just not of legal sound mind to be able to make that decision. So.
Thank you.
No problem.
What I would do, I would try to see if I could get the son to do a 3-way call with the mortgage company and see if the father would get on there with him and let the son be like an authorized person on the account and see if he can get an extension saying, hey, my father's not doing too well mentally. He's on 3-way right now. He's willing to make me an authorized person on this mortgage account to speak with you guys and see if they'll give him an extension on the foreclosure due to those circumstances. And then I would try to get it under contract. I might even say, hey, whatever price you want, I'll try to put it on a contract for that price. But what the appraisal comes back at, that's what's going to determine, you do it subject to the appraisal. Is it worth more or is it worth less?
Charles had a really good point there too. I think possibly forbearance. There's been a lot of stuff with forbearance possibilities with COVID. So right. there still might be some of those available to him that may be offered to stop the pending foreclosure.
Yeah, he definitely needs someone advocating on his behalf who's coherent and aware and understands the situation. And, obviously, the son would be a good potential, or, if he doesn't trust his son, get an attorney, suggest that he get an attorney to move forward, which, I'm never a fan of attorneys, but, it is what it is. So something to protect him legally and also protect you in this transaction. Should you manage to buy it and turn around and sell it, you want everything documented that shows you went above and beyond trying to make sure he was legally competent or properly represented, that you didn't take advantage of him. Because there's a lot of scams going on nowadays, and you don't want that to fall back against you either. Okay. So, but yeah, Charles has got a real good suggestion with trying to get on the phone with the mortgage company and the dad and see if he can get him to make him a authorized, person to discuss things and try and help, make the deal. But in the end, the dad still has to be willing to sign to sell the property.
That's
regardless of any deal that you do come up with. So
Yeah, the dad, that's the thing. The dad is ready to sign, is just that number that he thinks he's going to get for his property with like no rent. We're talking about 1920 property that's not been renovated, that is no central heating and air. It's, yeah.
You know, this is what I would do. Can you show him in writing what it's worth, the neighborhood, or some comps or something? This is just my suggestion, so that the father can see that he's not going to get that price.
So yeah, I'll go back and talk to the father with the son. I've showed the son. And after I showed the son the numbers, because he was talking about, you know, my dad wants this, my dad wants this. And I was like, well, let me show you what has sold in your area. So I brought out the comps, and after I showed the son, he understood, but I have not been able to get with the father. We were not at the son's house. The son was actually looking at another property at this time because they're trying to transition at the same time, trying to find something to get into. So I will see if I can go back and sit down with him and the father to show the father what I showed the son as far as the comps go in that area.
Exactly. And let me ask one more question, because this is an interesting story for us to learn. So I'm just trying to learn. I don't know everything like everyone else doesn't know everything, but the question I want to ask, is the father competent? Is the son saying his dad is competent?
Yeah, we were already asking that, Loretta.
Okay. All right. Then. I didn't hear that part. Okay.
Yeah.
But I know Frank.
It's not really known.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm through. Thank you.
Well, you're on the right thought process, though, Loretta. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not completely known.
Right.
Well,
either way, let us know how it works out.
Yeah.
I sure will.
Thank you.
We appreciate everybody coming out today. It's a Thursday's call. We do these calls every Monday and Thursday. If you want to get notified for these calls, you can text us at 210-972-1842. Just text the keyword hi. If you guys like these calls, man, we do these calls every week. We appreciate everybody coming out. Bring the good questions. Like I said, we sometimes have speakers, sometimes just Q&As, but we appreciate the feedback and we appreciate the good questions because it helps everybody in the room learn and everybody listen on later on if they have any questions about something similar. So we appreciate everybody coming on. Enjoy your weekend. It is, I think, it's not a holiday. No, almost a holiday in 2 weeks, July 4th. But enjoy your weekend. Spend some with your family. We appreciate everybody. Have a great day, guys.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.1listguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.